So dating is such an important part of a young man's life, and making a decision on who to spend possibly the rest of your life with can be that one decision can lead to years and years of joy and happiness, uh, or misery. And it really depends on how cautious you are with that one decision. So, does it really matter what kind of background that the woman you're considering, you're dating? Does it matter how her parents raised her? Does it matter the environment she was raised in? I'd like to spend a few minutes, some things for you to consider, but I would say absolutely it plays a huge part in who she is and what she'll become, as long as also with yourself. But I would remind you before you get into a serious dating relationship to focus on yourself. Make yourself the best that you can be. Become above reproach. Don't have any skeletons in the closet. Don't anything that you're hiding. Have a career plan, have goals, have dreams, be on track, be taking steps, have no hidden vices, no conscience that's screaming at you to make changes that you're not making. If something's out of order, fix it first. You have to start a relationship on the base that you are 100% as good as what you can be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of that as solid as you can make it. If that's not the case, when you get to know her and she gets to know you, she won't respect you. She won't take on your purpose. She won't give you all that you need, which is all of her heart, might, mind, and soul in helping you accomplish what you have, the dreams that you have in your life, your goals. So a lot of times as you're dating somebody, you get to the point, maybe not on the first date or second date, but you get to the point where you go in and you get a chance to meet her parents and her family. And that's a great opportunity. Go into that situation like you're an investigator. You're looking for clues. You're looking for things that might not be obvious during dates. And the big thing to look at and to watch is, how does her family treat each other? How does the husband treat his wife? How does the wife treat her husband? And most importantly, how do her parents treat their daughter that you're dating? You know, do you like her parents? Do you like her mother? Uh, Hopefully you like her, because that's how your future wife could be in 10 years or less. And trust me, it goes both ways. As you're investigating them, they are sizing you up too. And if you don't win over her parents and they're not impressed, you're going to have a tough road taking that relationship to the next level, or higher level, because you'll be fighting the opinions that her parents have of you too. But here's the big question, how do her parents treat their daughter? As you go into their home, does she have, the nicest things, the nicest clothes? You've seen her room. What's that like? Is it well kept? You go into the closet. Does she have just rows and rows, stacks and stacks of clothes? And they're not cheap hand-me-down stuff. They're name brand, expensive clothes. Do her parents provide her with whatever she wants? You ever see her wear the same thing twice? Kind of thing. What kind of car does she drive? What kind of house does she live in? Does she have, the perfect hair, nails, teeth that glow in the dark because they're fluorescent white? But most importantly, does she pay for anything? How often do her parents take her on family vacations? She's talking, well, this next summer we're going to go to Paris and Europe. We're going to see some stuff there, and I think it'd be really cool. It's not the first time I've been there. Like, oh boy, you're in trouble. Or this past spring break, we went on a cruise, and it was great. I mean, if this is the person that you're dating, they have created a monster in most cases. So some of the questions you can ask that are very telling is how often, if you've got a nice new phone, how often do you get a new phone? Do you pay for the phone? Do you pay for the service? Do you pay for that fancy car you're driving? Do you pay for the insurance? You have a job. What do you do with the money that you get from a job? Just all questions. She gets to know you. You can get to know her, and hopefully you can answer those same questions with some amount of dignity that you're responsible. The big one is, what is your greatest goal in life? And hopefully the first thing or second thing she said is, and maybe she's even embarrassed to say it, but hopefully she's bold. It'll tell. I want to be a wife and a mother because I can see value in that. My parents have taught me, hopefully, that there's great value in that. So why does any of this matter? What does it matter? What kind of environment she grew up in? Well, what do you think she's going to expect if you decide to get married to this person? She can expect a newlywed lifestyle or the lifestyle her parents have given her. Will she value anything you have to bring to the table? Will she feel entitled to be treated like royalty? If that is the case, you will be miserable. It will be a miserable marriage. And what if you can't provide the brand new car, the newest iPhone, the endless clothes, eating out at restaurants every weekend, going on fancy vacations? Maybe you even have to rent an old, crappy apartment that smells and it's surrounded by other tenants that are not very pleasant. It could happen, but this like shatter her reality. It's like, wait a second, you mean people live like this? Newlyweds are, by definition, really poor. I mean, it takes years and years to accumulate anything of great monetary value, to have a lifestyle where you have a house and where you have cars that you're not embarrassed by. I never cared. Transportation is transportation. Cars go down in value. They're not an asset. But bottom line, will she be happy being a newly wed wife? Will she make you miserable because you can't provide what her parents gave her? You know, will she value the time with you over the money that you don't have? Or will she expect you to get into debt because she won't drive the old crappy car? Will she be more worried about her image than living within your means? Will she be happy going on vacation? Vacation meaning, driving 30 minutes or less, camping in a tent, in a sleeping bag, on the ground. I don't really like that anymore, by the way. Camping, maybe, but air mattress for sure, but it'd be nicer in a motorhome or camper or hotel. But that's where things start out. Could you consider testing this person and find out what's at her core? Maybe you show up at that first date in an old crappy car, or your car. Maybe if you don't have a crappy car, you borrow one. Something else to consider is you're dating. Maybe not on the first date, but one of the dates. Maybe, yeah, I would be so bold to say, make it your first date. I was talking years ago to a young lady I got to know in a work situation. So I wasn't dating, it was in a work environment. And she was telling me about some of the experiences she had uh, dating. And I think this experience happened years ago. And she was still telling the story to someone that didn't know her that well. And she was just appalled at how she had been treated as just some casual, well, person. And I guess what happened? She even had a name for this guy. I think she called him Half Sandwich Ted or whatever his name was. So what happened? I guess they showed up to some fast food restaurant, which number one, I guess, was probably beneath her. But he turned to her as they got to the counter and said, "Hey, go ahead and order whatever you want. I'll take care of it." So she ordered, got the drink, the fries, the hamburger, sandwich, whatever. And then on the way to their seat, he grabbed a plastic knife. And they sat down, and he grabbed the sandwich and cut it in half, gave her half, and gave her half the fries. And they completed the date. And she talked about how disgusted she was with this cheapskate and how dare, I mean, can you believe someone would do that? And, I found it kind of funny, but maybe he was testing her, maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just cheap, miserly, maybe he was frugal. But guess what? He saved himself years of misery if he would have married this person. And because I can say that because I knew her well enough, I could see what her life was like and what it would have been to be married to her. Years of misery. And maybe years later, this guy shows up and he's a millionaire. Then she could realize that, man, maybe that wasn't the best choice. That wasn't the right judgment. I was putting value on the wrong thing. Instead of him spending money on me that I found valuable, maybe I should have seen the value in his willingness to be cautious with money. I know what you're thinking. I would never do that. There's no way. It'd be super embarrassing, awkward, all of these things. She'd just see me as cheap. And that's true. She could. Or if she was raised to think differently, she could think you're frugal and wise. Why can't you be honest? Why can't you say something like, I go on 1 or 2 dates every week, hunting for the right person. And so this is kind of what I do with the first date. If there's interest between us, I think it's a great idea to continue. And at that time, I'd be glad. And I think it would be very appropriate to spend more money and show the value I find in you. This stage is not a reflection of the value I find in you and splitting this meal. It's gives us a chance to talk, is all it is. So why can't you do that? Why can't be honest? I can't do that. She's just crazy. No, one might think that you're wise, the right woman. So a quality woman doesn't is not it's not about the money you spend on her. It's about spending time together and getting to know each other. You might think, well, there's no way anyone would pass any of these tests. And you're right, a lot of people probably won't. But you're hunting for that 1 in a million. If she won't share a meal with you, how will she treat you and your children after you're married? Will she be willing to put your children ahead of herself every single day? So every date should be an opportunity to learn more about the other person. You don't have to set up any quote unquote tests. I think I learned that there was many things that we could do that did not have a cost. Finding difficult hiking trails, find out how strong she is physically. You could invite her over to help with projects you've got. Invite her over to help do some painting. Have her come over to help wash your car. Find out a lot about someone's physical and mental strength, emotional strength. Some of the other things I did which help test their character is, take someone rock climbing, put someone in a very stressful situation when they're one of the most basic aspects of life is a fear of death and fear of getting injured. And you got someone on a rope, you have to put 100% faith and confidence in your abilities. And if they say something, I have a terrible fear of that, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Then might be very telling, or take someone caving where it's a little stressful. And you don't have to do these high endorphin, high stressful situations, you can find other situations like offer to volunteer, to babysit your nephews or nieces that are young. How does she handle that kind of situation? Can you imagine that she would be a very good wife and mother? Some things to think about. It's such a serious, important decision that requires all of your abilities to evaluate if this is the right person for you. I challenge you to be cautious with dating, to spend the time, to do your homework, get to know her first before you make a long-term commitment.